Can we have an honest conversation, chat? I think this might be the beginning of the end for Liam Lawson. Why? Because when you gather that evidence and look at all of the accounts, it feels and sounds and looks like Liam Lawson, that it might already be the beginning of the end for him. And I don't think he'll get the length of service, the tenure, nor the goodwill that Checo Perez got, because Liam Lawson doesn't bring circa $20 million into the team by dint of Carlos Slim's sponsorship money. So it would be fool's gold, therefore, no, an exercise in futility to compare those two instances. Liam Lawson is not Checo Perez. In any circumstance, whatever metrics you want to look at, even in terms of performance, chat, and here's where it gets techie. I wanted to leave this till later on, but we bring it up now. Liam Lawson started 20th in the first Grand Prix, or 18th even in the first Grand Prix. He will start 20th in the Grand Prix, the Chinese Grand Prix at the Shanghai International Circuit in a couple of hours. That means, therefore, of the 13 teammates that Maximilian Verstappen has had at Red Bull, or even the 13 bods who have started their career at Red Bull, he has been the worst. David Coulthard started 5th and then 8th. Christian Klein 6th and then 7th. Liuzzi 16th and then 11th. You get the point. No one has started their Red Bull career as badly as the one they call Liam Lawson. And it's techie, this, because it's part of it's a package deal. If Red Bull were going gangbusters and they had the best car on the grid and Maximilian Verstappen was happy-go-lucky, then it would be a different circumstance. But they do not. Yuki needs to be in that car, says Little Pleb ASAP. I've seen enough. Love the content. You're a legend, Little Pleb. And we'll get to Yuki Tsunoda-san. Because, again, so many people were calling for Tsunoda-san in that second car alongside Max Verstappen, weren't they? But Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, the decision makers at Red Bull, Austria and Thailand, decided that they were going to go a different route, that Liam Lawson had the face that fit the bill. Before we get into that, because everybody's killing this guy, and I don't want to make the video. It's a hard sell, this. It needs to be treated with kids' gloves, this whole circumstance, because you don't want these young kids to come in and get destroyed as far as their career and potentially their lives here on in at the hands of an F1 career failure. Let me give you what Max Verstappen has said. I've been listening to all this stuff in the background, and there are a couple plot lines at which we need to pull. Max Verstappen, in speaking to Ronald Vording, one of the go-toest F1 journos reporting on Autosport podcast, said the following of the car. He said, I'm outperforming that car in real time. Really, if you check it, take me out of that car and put another body in there. And that car is 4th fastest on the grid. Yes, the RB21, the balls that are red, 4th fastest. Max Verstappen says where he should really be on the grid tomorrow is 7th. Oh, the humanity. There is something wrong in this, but I feel like we're about to break the space-time continuum. Red Bull, says Max Verstappen, for the avoidance of doubt, to reiterate it, have the 4th fastest car on the grid. It is miracles, therefore, Max Verstappen said, that I'm only 2 points away from Lando Norris. I'm going to take you through what Ronald Vording said because it's important. First, he sets the scenes as follows. Max Verstappen, when he's talking to the English-speaking press and media, you'll always get a curtailed Max Verstappen, a censored Max Verstappen. You're never going to get the true driver himself. You've heard me say this on a gazillion occasions. What you want to do is hear the native language, the driver, sports athlete speak in their native tongue. Carlos Sainz is a very different man on the Nude Project podcast, speaking his native Castellano than he is when he's speaking to the English-speaking press. It's always going to be that way. Anybody who's learned a language will tell you as much. There is no translation piece. You just speak and it all comes natural and flowing. Ronald Vording says of Maximilian Verstappen that he gets this. When he speaks in his native tongue, you always get a Max Verstappen more open and honest. Lest we forget too that he doesn't necessarily trust the English-speaking British bias media. Ronald says that Max Verstappen spoke to us after the sessions today and said that we have the 4th fastest car. He said of Max Verstappen's demeanour that it's a long time since he saw Max Verstappen this negative, this downbeat about the car and the circumstance, the team. Max Verstappen told Ronald Vording that it's not the balance, it's just that the car's not bloody quick enough in absolute terms. Oh, and by the way, it's not just the delta that they lack even in terms of absolute pace to McLaren. They're slower than Mercedes Mercedes and Ferrari too. We're lacking pace, therefore, Max Verstappen says. And if you want proof positive, if you want to evidence that, just go and take the average times of the two teammates up and down the grid. The one they call Sir Lewis Carl and Charles Leclerc, I mean, they're close, aren't they? So too Mercedes, quite close again, not quite market leading, but nearly. McLaren, very close. You see Max Verstappen all the way up there in where? Third and fourth. Like, what are we doing? Liam Lawson all the way down the back of the grid in 20th. What are we doing, chat? This makes no sense. I think Max Verstappen is barking at the rock. Oh, stop glazing, Max Verstappen. Listen, you've got to normalise. Anybody that's watched F1 will know this. You can't do anything if you don't have the car. Oh, he's just turned into a normal driver now. Max doesn't have a dominant car. It's a difference in extents, chat, and not kinds. Max says to Ronald Vording, I'm outperforming the car. Helmut Marko, Ronald Vording counters that a podium, as far as the race is concerned, is an eventuality, not the most likely, not the least, but potentially you could get it and it would be a good result. Max Verstappen responds about the eventuality that is a podium, that it's not realistic, that they will need miracles, that Red Bull are a long way off McLaren and Ferrari and Mercedes, and that it's a miracle that Max Verstappen is only 2 points off of Lando Norris in the championship. Oh, the humanity. I did not realise it was this bad from Max and Red Bull, and it's the car mainly, is it not? They said that they were going to develop it, that all of the changes and upgrades came underneath the car, the underfloor, the Venturi tunnels, the underside of the front wing, that we couldn't see them, but that they were material and were going to increase the drivability as versus last year's iteration materially. That, ladies and gentlemen, has not transpired, or at least if F1 is a zero-sum game, relatively nowhere near the likes of MCL39, SF25 and W16. It's techie. Ronald Vording counter to Max. Max, well, you sound quite down. You sound quite downbeat, mate. I'm a bit concerned. You're very negative about the circumstance and the car. Max Verstappen responded to Dutch reporter Ronald Vording. He says, yeah, I am, but it's true. We should have qualified P7. We have a performance deficit to the rest of the big teams on that grid. Oh, the humanity, chat. It's going to get techie. You didn't give Sir Lewis those excuses the past 2 years, Cam. Did I not, Wayne? Oh, well. We'll talk about Sir Lewis in a minute, Wayne, since that's all that everybody wants to talk about. Let me nail Red Bull and Liam Lawson. On Liam Lawson, Ronald Vording said of him this. In fact, Liam Lawson said this, didn't he? He says that I'm aware that I'm operating within a very narrow performance window. And what are you talking about anyway, Wayne? What are you on about, Wayne? It's all right, mate. If you're brand new and you don't watch the videos, then just say that. Tell me you don't watch the videos without telling me that you don't watch the videos. Weren't we talking about that ad infinitum? Lewis not having the machine, that it not blending with his style, and you get an extra 10% if you give Lewis Hamilton a machine with which he's comfortable. But I digress, Wayne. Tell me that you don't watch the channel without telling me that you don't watch the channel. But I digress. Let's talk about Liam Lawson, because after today's sessions, P20, lest we forget, he said that I know I need more time, that I'm operating within this very narrow window as far as the handling dynamic of the RB21. I need more time, but I don't have it. This is Red Bull, and therefore this is a pressure cooker. It has always been, even through the Red Bull Junior program. If you hear Liam Lawson tell the anecdotes, every time he got a call from Helmut Marko, Dr. Helmut Marko, he knew it was bad news, that he'd had a bad race, and he was going to get feedback in real time from Dr. Helmut Marko, head of the Red Bull Junior program. Liam Lawson said of his circumstance that he needs more time, but I don't have it. I won't get it. I need to fix for my ills and travails in the here and now. Otherwise, in brackets, not said but alluded to, otherwise I will be gonzo soon, forthwith. He put that question, did Ronald Vording, apologies if I bastardise the name, put that question, or that statement at least, to the one that they call Dr. Helmut Marko. Dr. Helmut Marko, Liam Lawson said, I need more time, but I'm aware that I don't have it. To that, Helmut Marko, you say what? Helmut Marko responded, he is right. This is what's going on with Liam Lawson right now. The pressure cooker is becoming more suffocating by the second. And F1 is nothing if not a momentum game, right? It's hard to turn around this stuff when you're on a PIP, a performance improvement plan. It's hard to usurp that. And that's why I feel bad and sorry for Liam Lawson. There's got to be empathy when you look at this dude. Yeah, he's one of the best drivers in the world, but this isn't easy. You saw his countenance in the interview today, realizing it, dawning on him real time, the gradient of the mountain hill that he has to climb. Max said as follows as well about the Liam Lawson circumstance. If you put Liam in a Racing Bulls car, he'd be quicker because that car is much easier to drive, much more balanced, much more amenable, easier to swallow as far as its challenge, to handle it, to optimize for its lap time. Max continues that it's going to be really important, and Ronald, by the way, that it's going to be really important for Liam Lawson at the next Grand Prix, the Suzuka Grand Prix, the Japanese Grand Prix. Why? Because once upon a time, Liam Lawson raced over there, did he not? Super Formula settings. So there are no excuses about this track is brand new. He will need to nail it because I don't think he'll get too long. Tenure and time isn't something that you'll get at Red Bull. Only need to go and talk to Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Kvyat, Danny Ricciardo, etc. Checo Perez was probably the only one that got a decent bite at that cherry. Oh, and by the way, you saw Ted Kravitz asking Christian Horner the question that you took so long to get rid of Checo Perez last year, the negotiations ultimately buying him out of his contract, and that wasn't cheap. You had to throw millions at that problem that was Checo Perez. But what you didn't do, Christian, says Ted Kravitz, you didn't buy him out to have another underperformer in the car. For the avoidance of that, Liam Lawson is a second adrift of Max Verstappen. A second. That's not good enough. You don't win any Constructors' Championships that way. So why then would you get rid of Checo to put in that car yet another underperformer? Now, for the avoidance of doubt, all F1 journos are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. Andrew Benson of the BBC is one of the goatiest ones, and they went in conjunction with Harry Benjamin and one other on the Checkered Flag podcast, talking about all things Red Bull, Liam Lawson's circumstance, the poison chalice that is that second seat alongside Max Verstappen. First, they talked to Liam Lawson saying that it's a very narrow operating window. I need time, but I don't have it. What needs to happen going forward, said Liam Lawson, is that I need to just get to grips with the car. Andrew Benson ruthlessly said, yeah, that's true, mate, but everybody else is the same. In other news, is rain still wet? Andrew Benson outlines the circumstances, now characterises them as follows. He, Liam Lawson, now 2 races deep, is Max Verstappen's worst teammate. 18th is where he started from in the first race. 20th, drop dead last, is where we'll start from in a couple of hours at the Chinese Grand Prix. And that's where it gets techie, chat, because I feel like this is a difference in extents and not kinds now. Drop dead last. That's not a good look for anybody concerned, no related parties. The C-suite execs at Red Bull, the likes of Mintzlaff and Mark Mateschitz, will be looking at Christian Horner and Helmut Marko with the side eye. I thought you said this Liam Lawson guy was good. I thought you said he was brave, that he could handle the seat, the circumstance and the pressure and drive the car in the way that we know it needs to be driven and can be driven by dint of Maximilian Verstappen. To the ultimate end of winning us a Constructors' Championship. You know, the thing that we lost last year at the altar of Checo Perez's underperformance. Now, Max's worst teammate has a name, and his name is Liam Lawson by some way. Checo Perez in 2021 on his debut, 11th and 2nd, that's where he started. Albon was 14th and 8th in his first 2 races. Gasly, not so good, started 17th and 13th. Daniel Kvyat started 13th and 5th in his first 2 races. In 2014, it was Ricciardo 2nd and 5th, Vettel 3rd and compare him to any other Red Bull driver and he comes off badly. Andrew Benson gets techie and co. Harry Benjamin kicked out Jomo. No, nobody's kicked out Jomo. Jomo needs to still be here. Moderator extraordinaire. Right, Andrew Benson gets techie and they dive deep into this Red Bull chaos. They question whether they're making the right low-level decisions because otherwise they wouldn't. Listen, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different outcomes. That's what Red Bull have been doing for the longest time. They keep sacking the manager, to use the footballing analogy, Man United settings, but nothing's changing. They're not amending for the pipeworks, nor are they giving these drivers in Perez, Albon, Gasly, Kvyat, Ricciardo, they're not giving them the infrastructure and support that they need to develop them into drivers that can handle a Max Verstappen car. Andrew Benson says that by mid-season, Red Bull will make a decision, and that's not long. I would argue that Andrew Benson's being optimistic there. He wants to taper that down. After race 6, if we extrapolate out Liam Lawson's performances, if he continues in this same vein, I don't think Liam Lawson will last past race 6. And again, it's one of opportunity cost now. If Isaac Hadjar and Tsunoda-san keep performing the way they are, keep outperforming that Racing Bulls car and making Liam Lawson look slow and hazardous, then Houston, we have a problem. Then you make the decision for Helmut Marko and Christian Horner. There is no decision to make. The argument, it's a non sequitur of an argument. By mid-season, Andrew Benson contends he thinks if this continues, Liam Lawson will be gonzo. He says they'll be thinking about putting Isaac Hadjar in that car. But, says Benson, I don't want that for Isaac Hadjar. Why? Because the second seat alongside Maximilian Verstappen is a poison chalice. Why would you take that seat? They already pitched the question to Isaac Hadjar and he said he'll be good to go. But that demands an element, an extent of maturity that you could argue that Isaac Hadjar doesn't have yet. Le Petit Professor, he's not there yet, is he? Still a bit emotionally mature, still a bit green. Yeah, he's quick, but how many quick drivers have sat in that car alongside Maximilian Verstappen and ultimately come out worse? Their tenure curtailed due to underperformance. Let me tell you this as well, because Andrew Benson gets techie with this and starts talking about 2015 Carlos Sainz settings, that when he was in the car alongside Max Verstappen, broadly, he managed to out-qualify Max Verstappen over the course of that season. Why is that important? Because since that date, Carlos Sainz has fared well against Charles Leclerc. He's fared well against Lando Norris. Now he's in the car alongside another Red Bull Junior program graduate in Alex Albon. And thus far, the smooth operator is getting his ASS handed to him, is it not? So why then was there all this chatter about Carlos Sainz? Yet Red Bull, not too many cycles ago, let go of Alex Albon. These drivers are not bad drivers. Albon, super good, gone on to do things. Perez was good once upon a time, 2021, instrumental even in deciding which way the drivers went that year. Daniel Kvyat, half decent. Danny Rick, same thing. These guys are really, really good drivers. So what is going on there? And Benson tries to diagnose for this, that there's something fundamentally wrong. He asked the question as follows, and this is the exam question, the $64,000 question. Are Red Bull making the right or wrong management decisions? Why are they putting these bods in the car that can't handle it? Andrew Benson, rather damningly and disparagingly of Liam Lawson, says that Liam Lawson in his junior career, that nobody followed it that much with that attention to detail, but he was never a standout superstar. And that's the type of driver that you're going to lead alongside a Max Verstappen to adapt to that car. A Kimi Antonelli, let's say, or maybe an Arvid Lindblad, dare I say. That type of driver, a generational talent. Liam Lawson was never, ever that, nor was Tsunoda-san, to be fair, nor was Isaac Hadjar. Better level of driver than Checo, perhaps. You can argue that in the end, but is he going to get the runway necessary to grow into that driver? Probably not. If you look at past evidence, past his prologue, right? History in F1 doesn't always repeat, but sometimes it does rhyme. Andrew Benson of the BBC asked the question, were they expecting something different from Liam Lawson? And should they have been? Because Liam Lawson isn't working. Was he ever the driver for that job alongside Max Verstappen? Were his shoulders robust enough? Was he ever the one that was going to have that skill to optimise for that very difficult chariot in the RB21? Probably not. What happened with Red Bull is that they were forced into a corner, right? Checo Perez was the guy, but his underperformance was bringing shame on the family name. So they had to sandwich somebody, fit a square shape into a round hole. The truth is that Arvid Lindblad is the next one, but he's not ready yet. He needs to go through F2, F3, F2 this year. He needs to get his feet underneath the table and continue to learn. Andrew Benson then, as a bombshell conclusion, puts forth this supposition. Maybe Red Bull just don't care about the second seat. Maybe they just focus on Max and focus on developing a car for him, and everything else is playing with house money. Sack off the constructors altogether and just focus on putting all their eggs in the driver's basket. Maybe they don't care. If they don't care, maybe then they just leave Liam Lawson in the car to develop and understand. But I would contend as follows, that they're bringing shame on the family name. Not 15th, not 6th like Isaac Hadjar, or 12th even. Drop dead last. Liam Lawson is struggling. I feel like the dude, I feel bad, chat. I feel like the dude needs savings from himself. It's a sad situation, this. And then Helmut Marko makes it worse. Nisco, Turtle, I don't think anyone could drive the Red Bull except Max. And now Max is even having doubts. Yeah, he's talking about the car's just not fast enough, that he can handle it. He can tame it as far as an F1 bull per se, but it just isn't quick enough versus McLaren, versus Ferrari, versus now bloody Mercedes, even in that W16 iteration. Lest we forget, George Russell split the two McLarens, starting second on the front row. What are we doing? Go on then. Here's what Helmut Marko said. Now I try and summarize all things Sir Lewis. Go on, let's talk about Helmut Marko, because he ultimately has the final say on all matters drivers, right? Between him and Christian Horner, we saw that there was divergence as far as Nick de Vries, but normally Helmut Marko will have the final say on these things as far as promoting junior drivers. Now, per Benson, what's in the offing is Isaac Hadjar potentially superseding one Liam Lawson if this level of underperformance ensues. Andrew Benson, though, says Yuki Tsunoda-san is absolutely deserving, but he will never, ever get that seat. To which the F1 community react, oh, the humanity. What are we doing? Tsunoda-san is the guy. Andrew Benson puts forth this, though. If they haven't promoted him already, if they weren't going to do it in the first instance when Checo Perez was underperforming, they're definitely not going to do it now, when Arvid Lindblad is coming up, now that Isaac Hadjar is proving himself worthwhile as a deputy. Never going to happen for Tsunoda-san, and that fills me with woe and dread. That makes my heart sad, because Tsunoda-san's not been bad, has he? But again, it's political, and it always is in F1. Honda no longer collaborating with the Bulls that are red, as at 2026 they will be working with Aston Martin. So why therefore do Red Bull need to manage their stakeholder? The truth of the matter is they do not. Here's what Helmut Marko had to say. You're a legend, Nisco. Here's what Helmut Marko had to say, decision maker, and this is key. Why leave it till last? Because ultimately this is the only person that matters in this, and Helmut Marko has been nothing if not scathing. We know that Helmut Marko is very matter of fact, almost to a fault. And when he was asked on the circumstance that is Liam Lawson, whether he's going to be a driver at Red Bull going forward for the medium to long term, here's what he said. Speaking to Sky DE, he said that's not what he imagined from Liam Lawson, that type of performance. We will go away and analyse the telemetry, the performance or underperformance at our leisure. He continues, and I quote Dr. Helmut here, if we look at the positive, the Racing Bulls with Isaac Hadjar they've never driven on this track in China before, and they've notched up incredible times and made zero mistakes. I feel like he's jabbing at Liam Lawson subconsciously here. Do you know what I mean? By comparison, Liam Lawson is making mistakes almost at every single turn at the moment. He's struggling with a car that is difficult to handle. Front and centre of my mind always is the Alex Albon appearance on the High Performance podcast, where he said driving that Max Verstappen Red Bull is like using a computer with your mouse on 1000 sensitivity. You struggle with it. And therein lies the start of the pressure expectation doom loop. You want to drive it hard. You want to drive it fast. You want to match Max Verstappen. But the handling dynamic doesn't suit you. And so you struggle, you keep pushing, and then the next thing you know that you're off, you've yeeted it into the barrier, et al. And that's why it's so difficult, Alex Albon says, for another driver to come in alongside Maximilian Verstappen. It's his style. He likes it very on the nose. Alex Albon said that he likes it on the nose too. Very pointy as far as the front end, but it was too much for him to manage. Helmut Marko continues. As far as Liam Lawson's is a decent analogy, this techier than techie things, chat. As far as Liam Lawson's success and somebody potentially superseding him over the next few races, Helmut Marko had this to say, and I quote, "Shadow and sun, as an analogy for success and failure, are, quote, close to each other. We will see what happens going forward." As far as Liam Lawson, says Helmut Marko, techie. He said there are a few drivers recommending themselves in real time. I wouldn't say imposing, but thank God we are in good shape with options, in brackets unsaid, to replace the one that they called Liam Lawson. Pressed on whether an in-season change was possible, Helmut Marko responded as follows: Formula One is a competitive sport, and in the end, performance is what counts. Oh, the humanity. Not ruling it out. Can you imagine being Liam Lawson and reading these comments? I mean, his shoulders have to be robust as fudge. Confidence has got to be low already. And reading these things, you think his confidence is going to boost? Oh, he's techie fully. I don't envy it. Who'd want to be an F1 driver? Definitely not a Red Bull Racing F1 driver. No chance. It's far too techie. Marko also said Sir Lewis wasn't going to be a threat to Max. Wayne, do you want to talk about... I'm getting that you want to talk about Sir Lewis, eh, Wayne? You know what I mean? Not overly enamoured with the story of the day. That is Liam Lawson. Go on, let's talk about Sir Lewis. Because I watched a couple of interviews. So first, seeing Lewis all positive, saying that the drive was mega, winning his first race in inverted commas, in them their red overalls with the yellow badge and black pants in horse atop. Lewis said, his words not mine, it was mega. He said of his preparation that him and Angela are getting used to the circumstance, being Ferrari employees now. I suppose he's a contractor, not an employee, but I digress. Semantics. Said that he rocked up to the grid early today, not by design. It was incidental, but getting there early gave him the time to talk to engineers, said Sir Lewis, and embed himself further within the team. Get in the car, smell some air, meditate, envision, visualize even the road ahead, the pole lap, and of course the race win in the sprint. So Lewis said he might try and do that more going forward. Of the circumstance, and again we're talking about the change in variables and the performance evolution of the SF25 over the course of last race weekend and this, Lewis Hamilton said the challenge for tomorrow will be a couple different things. During the sprint, he said that he felt in control, but his concern was that the tyres were graining, the front tyres and of course the front left, owing to the nature of the Shanghai International Circuit. Lewis said the problem for the drivers will be graining. Now, strategy, mediums to 2 hards potentially, maybe a 2-stop, maybe a 3-stop. And so they're going to need to manage for those. And again, that smacks of McLaren MCL39 to me. They've got that sexy brake disc contour and they manage their tyres better than anybody else. Lewis said that he was graining as soon as lap 4, but he knew that he just had to manage it. That if he was graining, that he knew that Max Verstappen behind him, by dint of the dirty air, would also be graining. Lewis Hamilton doubled down. He said that he kept hearing so many people. Okay, so he was fuming. Let me tell you what Ted Kravitz said. Ted Kravitz said he rocked up to a press conference, a scrum even, with Sir Lewis, and he could see in Lewis's countenance that he wasn't pleased, that he was angry at something. So with a view to appease the main man, Sir Lewis, 7-time champion, GOAT settings, Wayne, he teed up a slam dunk of a question, a nothing question, do you know what I mean? A nothing burger of a question. Jorge, you're a legend. When will the question be asked? Are the changes in the seats needed or are changes in the off? Jorge. I mean, that's what Benson was saying, right? We'll get to it, Jorge. I'll come back to Red Bull. So Lewis, as far as Lewis Hamilton's concerned, he was saying, Ted Kravitz asked the question, a slam dunk one, not to cheese off Sir Lewis Hamilton more than he was already cheesed off. Because Ted, again, legend of the F1 channel, Ted's notebook, settings. I am partial. Ted said that he didn't want to cheese off Sir Lewis more than he already seemed to be cheesed off. Served him up a slam dunk of a question. An Austrian journo next to Ted Kravitz then asked Sir Lewis, tell me about the communication, because there's been lots of reports about it. And then Sir Lewis went in, diatribing and revealing the true source of his anger. He said, I don't know why people are talking about it so much. Everybody just loves negativity. It was people that I looked up to all of my life and all my career that seemed to just jump on the smallest negativity, whereas the likes of Max and other drivers up and down the grid are always super negative to their race engineer, about their team, about the car, and nobody says anything. That was the source of my anger, says Sir Lewis, and I wanted to channel that, ultimately weaponising that to put myself on pole and win a cheeky sprint race. And I don't hate it. It's a brilliant story, is it? Not. But around Sir Lewis going forward, listen, objectivity and truth value. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and get too negative. I hope Sir Lewis can continue this. Listen, I'll say this. I hope Sir Lewis can just continue beating Shah. That would be a good enough news story for me. Yeah, if he can win a few races and challenge for a championship, absolutely flipping fantastic. I will be punching the air 100%. But what I can't bend the knee to, no, will never bend the knee to, is Sir Lewis Hamilton, extremist and fundamentalist, jumping on the negativity, the downside of this performance. Oh, Cameron, you said that he was washed. When did I say Sir Lewis was washed? I said that he's 40 years old and we need to understand the gradient, the extent of the gradient and how steep it is of the mountain hill up which he will need to climb if he wants to win himself at 8th. Yes, he's 40 years old. What are we doing? Yes, he's probably lost the 10th in terms of pace. 2024 didn't go away. We can't just wish it away and do one of these and pretend like it never happened. Oh, well, in 2024, they say Mercedes was sabotaging him. You saw at Las Vegas that, God, I can't, Umanch. I can't entertain this stuff. I don't know. Over there, it's different. It's sometimes you've just got to agree to disagree now. As far as the Sir Lewis Hamilton thing, if past his prologue, Sir Lewis Hamilton would be doing really well to win himself a few races this year. Not sprint race, a few races proper. He's hoping he can nail it. But your boy Cameron CC isn't going to be celebrating anytime soon. I love the victories for Sir Lewis Hamilton, regardless of how small. But I don't know. Let's put on ice the celebrations that Sir Lewis is going to win himself an unprecedented 8th championship this year. As a result of what happened this morning, the pole was brilliant. The composure off the line was brilliant from Sir Lewis. Defensive, the levels of defence off the line and the launch to Maximilian Verstappen using the bloody barrier as a third defender. God tier from Sir Lewis. Lando wants to take a leaf out of Sir Lewis's book in that sense. 0 mistakes were made. Tyre whisperer extraordinaire. I don't know, sometimes you've got to judge these things in long term, Wayne. Techie than techie things. I will see you in a couple of hours, guys, for the race proper. We'll go live 30 minutes before, where we will chop up and pull at all the F1 centric threads, as we tend to do at this stage. What are we doing here, chats? But I digress.